The final episode of The Mandalorian Season 3 is out now. Full spoilers ahead. It's fair to say that the overall feeling for Season 3 seems to be rather negative, but there has been a lot of excitement for this final episode, with theories and rumours regarding the events of the finale. Rumours that Boba Fett and Ahsoka make a cameo, Din actually dying, or Grand Admiral Thrawn making his debut live-action appearance before the Ahsoka series in August. As it turns out, none of the above happened. There was also speculation as to who the spy was from the previous episode, as it was titled The Spies. We only saw one spy that episode, Elia Kane. This seemed to be a misdirect, as there was seemingly no spy amongst the Mandalorian ranks. Without further ado, let's get straight into the plot. We continue from where we left the previous episode, with Bo-Katan and her Mandalorians fleeing Moff Gideon's Beskar troopers. Mando, with the help of IG Grogu, escapes the troopers, who are taking him to the debriefing room. Axwos informs the Mandalorian fleet of the incoming TIE interceptors, and he takes control of the capital ship, whilst the rest of the Mandalorians reinforce Bo-Katan. Now freed, Din and Grogu head to defeat Moff Gideon once and for all. A massive sky battle in Gideon's base occurs between the Mandalorians and the Beskar Imperial troopers, and Din takes on the Imperials guarding Gideon's command centre, in probably the coolest moment Din has had all season. R5, Din's astromech, opens the laser gates one at a time on Din's command, as he uses knives, shields, and blasters against the Beskar troopers. After defeating the troopers, Din and Grogu see the cloning capsules, which made their first appearance in Season 2, Episode 4, The Siege. We find out that inside the cloning pods are cloned Moff Gideons. Not the first variation of Snoke or Palpatine clones that many theorised. So another subversion for the YouTube theorists out there. Gideon tells us later that he was trying to imbue his clone army with the Force, and that's why he needed Grogu. After Din destroys the clone pods, he faces off against Gideon. Midway through the fight, 3 Praetorian guards appear. It seems like the Praetorian guards hibernate in a dark corner, only to reveal themselves partway through a fight, as they appeared in the very same way when facing off against Paz Vizsla in the last episode. Bo-Katan joins the fight, and Bo takes on Gideon, and Din takes on the Praetorian guards. The Praetorians beat Din, and then Grogu walks in, controlling his IG unit. The guards follow Grogu, and leave Din on the floor. Din finally gets up, and joins Grogu in the fight against the Praetorian guards. Grogu does very well using Force Push many times, as Din strikes down the guards. In the meantime, Axwos tells the Mandalorians to evacuate Gideon's base, as he is piloting his capital ship down into it. Gideon and Bo-Katan continue their fight, and Gideon crushes the Darksaber in Bo's hand, perhaps emphasising Gideon's lack of care for the Mandalorian culture, and that Mandalore is now on a new path without the Darksaber. Din and Grogu help Bo, and they push Gideon into the fires of the crashing capital ship. The fires seem to engulf them, but Grogu creates a force shield around Din and Bo. Victory against Gideon claimed, the Mandalorians take back Mandalore, and we see Paz Vizsla's son finish his initiation as a Mandalorian apprentice. Thankfully, no giant alligators attack him this time. After Paz's son gets initiated, Din wants Grogu to become an apprentice too. The armourer says that as Grogu cannot speak the creed, only his parents can give him permission to become an apprentice. And so Din formally adopts Grogu as his son, and he is renamed Din Grogu. Not the best name really. From Baby Yoda to Grogu, to IG Grogu, still my favourite, and now Din Grogu. Does this mean that in Mandalorian culture, it's last name, then first name? As it's Din Djarin, now Din Grogu? So is Bo-Katan Kryze's name actually Kryze Katan Bo? Or Kryze Bo-Katan? Or Katan Bo? I don't know. I'm sure I'm wrong. Anyway, Grogu then looks down into the Mandalorian waters, and deep below, the mythosaur that Bo saw earlier in the season feels Grogu's presence. Feels Din Grogu's presence. The armourer tells Din that he must leave the planet with Grogu, to explore the galaxy just as Din's teacher did for him. The Great Forge is then lit up by Bo-Katan, and Din and Grogu leave Mandalore. They meet up with Carson Teva in the New Republic Aldefi base. Din proposes to Teva that he works for the New Republic as an independent contractor, hunting down Imperial remnants. Whilst there, Grogu sees an IG unit's head, and Din fixes IG-11 with a new IG unit circuitry. They then travel to Navarro, and Din gives IG-11 to Greef Karga to serve as their new marshal, since Cara Dune has been removed from her position by the Twitter mob. Greef gives Din a small settlement on the outskirts of the city, and a final shot is with Din, feet up, in his new home, watching his adopted son Grogu play with a little frog. The screen circles down on the pair, and the end credits roll. Not the episode many expected, but I'll start with the positives. I thought the action and visuals were brilliant, between the Beskar Imperial troopers and Mandalorians, as well as Din finally taking centre stage with a fantastic Lasergate fight. Din and Grogu taking down the Praetorian Guards together was also a great moment. I believe that this episode could serve very nicely as the actual end of The Mandalorian. It ties up the 3 seasons really well. We didn't actually see Moff Gideon's body, so there's always a chance that he could come back, or even one of his clones could return. But let's take it that he died. Now that's the main villain for the 3 seasons killed off. Din officially adopts Grogu and they settle down on Navarro, providing Grogu with a safe life, as Navarro is free from Imperials, and Grogu can go to school with the other Navarro children and steal their macaroons, and play with some frogs. The pair can go on occasional missions together, hunting down Imperial remnants. Mandalore is also reunited, and the Mandalorian people can now start again, reigniting the Forge and rebuilding Mandalore. It's a very happy ending. Of course, Disney Star Wars won't end the Grogu and Din cash cow until they run it dry, but I'd prefer it if this was the end chapter of The Mandalorian, and then it would be an overall really good series. They also could play cameo roles in future Star Wars shows, helping Ahsoka, Boba Fett and others, and then they go back to their little home on Navarro. As for the negatives for this episode, it was all a bit too easy. I can't remember seeing one Mandalorian die, not even an unnamed background Mandalorian. They defeated the Beskar Imperials easily, Bo, Din and Grogu killed Gideon and the Praetorian Guards, and everyone made it out okay. Also, I was expecting a space battle between Gideon's ships and a Mandalorian fleet, but all that happened was the TIE interceptors shot the capital ship, and that's it. They then disappeared. There were also no major cameos, which I think fans were expecting and hoping for. Considering Season 2 introduced Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, Cobb Vanth, Boba Fett and Luke Skywalker in the final episode. This established an expectation that something similar would happen in the Season 3 finale. I have to say though, overall, I rather enjoyed this episode, and it was certainly one of the better episodes this season. I scored an 8 for plot, 9 for entertainment value, 8 for characters and performances, 9 for visuals, 9 for sound, and 8 for the ending, as it was a solid conclusion to Din, Grogu and Bo's story. The Mandalorian Chapter 24, The Return, receives a rating of 85%, which I think many may disagree with me, but I like to look on a positive side, most of the time. For me, only Episode 2, The Mines of Mandalore, scores higher than the finale this season. My overall rating for Season 3 is 80%. When we compare The Mandalorian Season 3 to recent shows I've watched, it comes in at 11th place, behind The Crown Season 4 and The Bad Batch Season 2. Compared to the other Star Wars Disney Plus shows, Season 3 does rather poorly, scoring worse than Season 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian and only above The Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi. My rating for this episode is 85%, and the season overall, I've rated it at 80%, compared to the IMDb user rating of 8.8 out of 10. The Rotten Tomatoes critics score for Season 3 is 87%, and the audience score is 49%, wow, which I think is very harsh, but I certainly understand the complaints for this season, and agree that it's the least good of the 3 seasons. Anyway, what are your thoughts on the finale? Do you think it tied up the arcs of the main characters well? Was it a bit lackluster compared to previous season endings? Do you think a cameo was needed to really excite fans? Let me know in the comments below. I'm currently working on a full Season 3 review, which will hopefully be out in the next few weeks. I've got some video essays on the channel such as the 12 cancelled Star Wars films and the slow death of Star Wars, which you should see on the screen now. It's early days for Film Club, so if you enjoyed this video, then subscribing to the channel and liking the video would mean a lot. Thank you, and see you again.